How do you top a first-time service trip to a foreign country? You get a new group of students and attempt to recreate that experience. This time with more intent, experience, and a fresh new set of perspectives. So the first year we went, we had a pretty flawless trip. Everything was perfect. The kids had a really good time bonding with each other. And so this year the challenge was for us to actually recreate that experience, but in a different location.
So I had a great time last year, learned a lot of things, grew a lot as a human, and grew a lot personally. So when Mr. Weaver invited me back, it was an obvious yes to go. I heard about Nicaragua when I was in Mr. Weaver's math class, and he invited me and asked me if I wanted to go on it, and I was like overjoyed.
I heard about this trip from my DARA mentor, Desiree, who works with Mr. Weaver. She told me that they were bringing girls on the trip this year. I've always wanted to do mission work. I thought this would be a good opportunity to come.
I heard about last year's trip from Miss Rebello, one of the teachers at the middle school. I heard all good things about all the mission work they did.
I heard about last year's trip because Mr. Weaver was tutoring me for math. Everybody just said it was a really good experience. I was very interested from the start, and it seemed like something I wanted to do.
I first heard of the Nicaragua trip from last year from my 8th grade Spanish teacher, Senora Rebello. I heard that they went on a mission trip to Nicaragua to help the people in the community.
We went to a different location. It was very awesome, very beautiful. The scenery was gorgeous. It was in a mountainous region, and the climate was different. We had a really good opportunity to bond with each other, and although it was different, we still succeeded in having our kids understand the purpose. And the purpose was threefold. One, we wanted them to bond with each other. We wanted them to recognize poverty and how it affects communities. And lastly, we wanted them to just be grateful for the things that they have and not take them for granted.
We landed in an airport, and it was very hot, which I expected, and it was really different, and everyone was speaking Spanish, and I did not take Spanish, so I didn't know anything.
When we landed, it was kind of like, it was just wow, because, I mean, it was obviously pretty poor.
I was expecting poverty all over the place, and when I got there, it was kind of like that, but the people were like a lot happier.
I just seen like the people, and all of them seemed all happy, despite of how they're living.
The moment in my picture, we were helping this man who didn't have any legs, like functioning legs, and we had to level a hill out for him so he can build his house. He was just telling us like his life and like how he couldn't do it, and how gracious like he was to have us there, and how like happy and thankful he was, because that would have taken him and another gentleman a couple months to do what we did, and we did it in a day.
We had just done like an hour-and-a-half hike to the top of a mountain where we got to see a really pretty waterfall. It was like one of the things we did in the afternoon after our service. I thought it was pretty, but I was more taken aback by how the man that took us up there and led us up there, he was like, he didn't even look at the waterfall. He was more looking at our reactions to it. He was so happy to see all of us like enjoying the waterfall and like his community.
My moment was Podcast for Peace, and basically we went there and we sat down in a room, and a bunch of kids came out, and they had dresses and everything, and they made up a dance for us. And last year they said that these kids didn't have clothes and like dresses for the dance that they did, so it was really cool to hear about that they had clothes this time and that they can do this performance for us. And then after that we played with them and did games, and they just seemed really happy for us to be there playing with them.
We did 3 days of community service, and one of the projects was leveling the ground, and another project was laying down piping so we could have a toilet for one of the families. It was a lot of hard work, and we were digging trenches, laying down pipes in order for the pipes to connect to the toilet. And my moment that stuck out to me was seeing the family member who was getting the toilet, see him flush it, and how excited he was. And for us, that's just something little, something that we've always had. But for him, it was a very big thing because he's never had a toilet.
After we had done all of our service, helping clear the land and helping put in the toilet system, we had a little bit of downtime, so we went over to stay at this part of Nicaragua, and at the crater we were staying at, there was this huge, it was like a huge body of water. And we woke up super early to jump off, but the sunrise was awesome, and it cascaded over the trees, and it was really awesome. And the dock was pretty high up, and it looked pretty fun to jump off of, and we jumped off it was really fun.
The picture that me and the native community member are in was taken towards the end of a day on a pretty long and hard work day. Everyone was super tired, it was super hot, and the whole time this guy was sitting there with a smile on his face. And there's a little background, this man had a house further up on a hill, but he was diagnosed with polio when he was a few years old. So he had lived his whole life walking around on his knees. So as he got older, it was getting a little bit harder for him to walk up the hill. So we were just basically hollowing out a part of the mountainside and making him a flat piece of land where he could build a new house and start a new life with him and his son. We were all sitting there and we were all tired, and this guy comes up to me and he was like, Ayudar, help? So I was like, sure. And I grabbed the plank that's pictured in the photo, and we were pulling the dirt on our hands and knees, leveling out the land. It was really great, and it was a true experience, me working with him.
I walk away with being more humble and looking at my life at a new way. I'm also happy to say that I gained a lot of new friends during this trip and people who I can count on and go forward with.
I'm definitely more grateful for the things I have at home, and definitely clean water and bathrooms and all that. I'm definitely more grateful.
This trip did change the way I see my life and how I live from day to day. That just about everything, the living conditions are so much different than here, and you don't realize that until you actually go and see that in another country.
Just to be very grateful for everything that I have, no matter how little or how big. I would love to go in the future to do more service.
I see how privileged we are here in America, and I'm worrying about school or friends or sports. They're worrying about day-to-day needs like water, food, supplies. It really puts things in perspective.
It did instill in me things that I noticed last year, like a sense of community, and I'd say that was the biggest shocker because we were in a different community, and I noticed that they had a strong sense of community last year, but this year it was even different. Here it was work and contribute to the community or basically die, because they're so reliant on each other, and it's amazing to see how everyone was still so happy and so willing to help.
Our purpose this year was similar to last year, for our kids to, 1, understand how poverty affects different communities, 2, for them to build a brother and sisterhood with each other, and 3, for them to recognize their many blessings and not take things for granted. And I feel like we really accomplished that goal again this year, just as we did last year. We're forever grateful for the many people that actually helped us make this a success. And we look forward to what's happening next summer and the summers to come.